What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday, February 13th. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com. You can also check us out by downloading the Sports Talk app, taking it on the go, Alexa, Google Home devices, your smart speakers over there. Video streams also up and rolling. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch here this morning. A big thanks for making us a part of your start. What do we got on a good old game plan for us? Well, we're going to talk some Brewers coming up here as pitchers and catchers reporting yesterday, and got to hear a little bit from Pat Murphy and some pitchers, including Brandon Woodruff, and maybe some better news than what was kind of being speculated out there. He did talk to the media, wanted to set some things straight, saying, I quote, I read some of the stuff that comes out and people think I'm hurt, that I've had a setback. I haven't had a setback. I want to make this clear. When you have surgery, especially a shoulder surgery, you have to do things differently and have to build up differently. My progression is going to be a little bit slower. It's not that I've had a setback, because I haven't. And on top of that, he is expected tomorrow to face hitters for the first time since September of 2023. So that is the next hurdle for Brandon Woodruff to potentially return back to this team. So he'll pitch against about 20 pitches tomorrow, it sounds like. Yeah, he expects to throw about 20 pitches in a live BP session. And that's right in line with the other Brewers pitchers. So if you're thinking, oh, just 20 pitches, that's about in line with the other pitchers as they get things going here for spring training. As for when he will pitch in an exhibition game or a regular season game, that's all to be determined right now. Brewers are taking the cautious approach with his shoulder surgery. But nonetheless, I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago. And Pat Murphy, I think a lot of it stemmed from the Pat Murphy interview that he did with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, saying that, he wouldn't be ready for spring training and for the regular season. So I think there was some thoughts like it still might be a while and maybe not going the way it's supposed to go. But Brandon Woodruff yesterday trying to set the record straight. So maybe some good news there for the Brewers. However, some maybe not so good news is DL Hall going to be out for a while. He was placed on the injured list, and Brewers going and signing a veteran left-handed pitcher, Tyler Alexander, to fill in that spot. Anderson is a 30-year-old pitcher, control specialist. He has started 52 of his 143 major league appearances for both the Tigers and Rays over the last 6 seasons. So, but DL Hall right now just kind of going through, hopefully it's not anything major, but, we'll see when it comes to pitcher stuff and shoulders and that. But, and DL Hall was a guy too that I think, Brewers still trying to figure out, is he going to be a long-term starter coming out of the pen and such. But that was a couple of nuggets yesterday as the Brewers getting to the beginning parts of spring training with pitchers and catchers reporting yesterday. So we'll talk some Brewers as we open up things here this morning. We'll talk some hoops now that we are in the All-Star break for the Bucks, and no Giannis yesterday and no Damian Lillard, and Bucks squeaking out a W. So Bucks able to get that W over the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota last night, 103-101, thanks to Brook Lopez hitting a couple late free throws in the game. Kyle Kuzma helping lead the way with a double-double, playing 39 minutes in the game last night, 19 points, 13 rebounds. Gary Trent Jr. coming off the bench and was hot, 21 points to lead all scorers for the Bucks, including 3 of 5 from the field. So Bucks picking up a win before heading into the All-Star break. Now 29-24 on the season. If you're looking at the Eastern Conference standings, still in that 5 spot, 1 game behind the Indiana Pacers. So Minnesota, meanwhile, They are now in the 7th seed in the Western Conference, the first team in the play-in round. So they're one game back from the Clippers for that final spot in the top 6. But Bucks heading into the All-Star break at least with a W, and hopefully after the All-Star break will be a little bit more healthier. They'll be their first game, regular season game after the All-Star break is going to be a week from today, going up against the Clippers too. So we'll throw some hoops chats in here this morning. We got a little receiver defer coming up around 7:45. No outdoor tidbits here this morning. No outdoor tidbits. Jake's got some work duties over there, so save your outdoor questions for next week if you have any. But Jake will hopefully be joining us tomorrow to hit that up. We'll do a little Throwback Thursday coming at you too. We may throw a little football talk in here, but it's pretty darn quiet right now, getting into the early parts of the off season here. I know, got all those mock drafts starting to come out and a bunch of other things starting to come out here too. So, but we'll hit that up coming up a little bit later on. Locally wise, Blue Gold men's basketball falling to Platteville last night, 3rd ranked Platteville. But the women's team, Blue Gold women's team, picking up a win on the road against Platteville. They picked up a 46-44 victory. Stout for college basketball. Stout women falling to River Falls, but the men's team squeaking out a W against River Falls. Hockey-wise, women's hockey dominating Northland College 10-0 last night. So got speaking of basketball and such, it's going to be just a couple more weeks left. Blue Gold men's basketball going to be on the road against Points this weekend. It's going to be another tough battle. Points going to want to kind of avenge a loss earlier in the season. So, and then just 2 more games after that, and they're going to be all at the Sonantec for the men's center. Same thing for the women's team. Just 3 weeks left. 1 more at home, and then they're going to finish up on the road too. So that's starting to wrap up. Then we're going to have some WIAC conference tournaments and getting into the postseason. Hopefully they can make the postseason tournament too. So hopefully they can rack up some wins here and get into the dance. But this weekend too, on the high school side of things, you're going to get the girls basketball seedings too for the playoffs. So that's coming up here pretty darn quick. But we'll do some local sports roundup with Brandon coming at you tomorrow and such. So that's just a little bit on the game plan for us this morning. What else is on your mind? You can always hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912, or hit us up on the video streams out there, YouTube. Let's get that YouTube chat room going over there. Facebook available up there too. Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, all that fun stuff. So you can hit us up over there if that's easier, or just hit me up with an email too on the socials at DANKASPER on X/Twitter, or Facebook.com/Kasper Sports, Instagram, same thing over there too. So, but let's open up things here this morning. Let's talk some more baseball, shall we? As we are now kind of in the midst of spring training with pitchers and catchers reporting. Maybe you're seeing some videos. I was watching a little Contreras yesterday, taking some BP and such. We got our first spring training game coming at you next Saturday for the Brewers. So coming in hot right now. So let's talk a little Milwaukee Brewers to open up things. Brandon Woodruff, yesterday coming out and trying to set the record straight, but also exercising some caution. It's good news from Woodruff, but maybe still kind of just hold your breath a little bit and don't necessarily expect him right away for opening day. However, Pat Murphy not leaving any speculation out there, already declaring an opening day starter yesterday, saying it's going to be Freddie Peralta, which is no big surprise. I think it was just everybody's like, oh, okay, right away, going Freddie Peralta, unless, knock on wood, something happens. But yeah, Freddie Peralta already your opening day starter. So there you have it. No drama, nothing like that out there. But let's get things going here this morning, shall we? We'll take our first break and get the lead off at you. Talk some Brewers baseball, talk some hoops, and whatever else is on your mind. Join in on the combo, okay? Hit me up, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Stick around. We'll get things going here this morning after these few words. Just a few tickets left for that Brewers bus trip to the home opener on March 31st. So head to wiscotrips.com to reserve your tickets and reserve your seats as they take on the Royals. Game ticket to the Johnsonville Party Deck that includes food and beverages, also pregame tailgates, a couple domestic beers for those who are 21 and over. Must be 18 years of age or older unless occupied by a parent or guardian. So just a few left if you want to get on over there. Again, wiscotrips.com to get your tickets to the home opener. So we know it's not opening day overall because the Brewers will be on the road taking on the Yankees before that. But the home opener March 31st there. So also big thanks again to the Blue Gold yesterday for letting us hang out at the Sontag Center for the program leading into last night's basketball game and such. But big thanks for that. We've got a new episode of the Rollin' with the Golds podcast that'll drop around 9 o'clock this morning on your favorite podcasting platforms. A couple members of the men's basketball team joined us on that episode of the podcast. So you can check it out at 9 o'clock. And a reminder, just 3 weeks left in the the Blue Gold regular season here. They're going to be men's team's going to be on the road against Stevens Point, and then next week they'll finish up with 2 straight games at home at the Sontag Center. So if you want to check them out beforehand, before their season comes to an end, well, hopefully they'll make the postseason here. You got 2 opportunities next week right now, and this is a big game with Stevens Point because if you remember, Stevens Point came over here to Sontag just a couple weeks ago. They were a ranked team, and the Blue Goals taking them down. And right now, both Stevens Point and Eau Claire tied for 3rd in the WIAC standings. So could be a big game in terms of seedings when it gets to the WIAC tournament. So the women's team, they'll be at home, final regular season home game taking on Stevens Point this Saturday. And they're going to be looking to try to move up a little bit in the standings too for the WIAC tournament as well. But all right, let's open up things here this morning, talking some Brewers as the Milwaukee Brewers pitchers and catchers reporting yesterday, getting some workouts in, spring training, first game already next Saturday, which you will be able to hear right here on 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Brandon Woodruff yesterday trying to clear the air a little bit with some reports out there. Did he suffer a setback? Is what's kind of his timeline? He spoke a little bit with the media saying, quote, "I read some of the stuff that comes out and people think I'm hurt, that I've had a setback. I have not had a setback. I want to make this clear. When you have a surgery, especially a shoulder surgery, you have to do things differently and you have to build up differently. My progression is going to be a little slower. It's not that I've had a setback because I have not. I'm having to build up a little bit slower, but I'm doing great." Big news, though, that he revealed yesterday, he is expecting to face live batters for the first time tomorrow, first time since September of 2023. Expects to throw about 20 pitches in a live batting practice session. And if anybody thinks 20 is not a lot, that puts him right in line with the other Brewers pitchers to begin spring training. So this is a major hurdle for Brandon Woodruff to potentially clear here. And after that, what's next? Well, 2 factors will dictate the timeline. One, his recovery. Can he routinely, bounce back from a high-intensity throwing session? And his mechanics would be the next one there. Can he reproduce his old, easy velocity? As Pat Murphy said too, it's got to be open-ended. Shoulder surgery is way different and less predictable than Tommy John, especially for a guy that his, quote, angry fastball is what has made him so special. A hitter knew it was coming, and he still threw it. You don't find many of those players left. How big of a difference would it be for this team overall if Brandon Woodruff is, I don't want to put any opening day expectations on it, but let's say fairly soon as part of that starting rotation in turn?
Oh, I think it'd make a big difference, not only in the fact that he's shown when he's healthy, he's really a good, competitive major league pitcher, but also just to bring him back as the leader, having lost Corbin Burns. I think it would be good. I don't know if Freddie Peralta can carry the mantle of the horse, so to speak, the number one. And I think if Brandon Woodruff would come back and be the number one, I think it'd make Peralta better. I think it just trickle down effect on this whole team. If Brandon Woodruff can come back and be what he was before he got hurt, I think he'd have a big, big impact on this team.
Yeah, I don't know what, and the thing is going to be when he does come back, I don't think they'll know yet to the innings and the amount of innings. I wouldn't expect 200 innings this year for Woodruff at this point, but just to have, I don't know what should the, are we hoping maybe just to get 5 innings out of every outing for him, or?
Yeah, and I think maybe tomorrow Dr. Crow can probably tell you, because I know you and he have talked about that injury. And 5 innings, are you talking 5 innings in May, or starting at the All-Star break, or starting August 1st? I don't know when he would be able to pitch 5 innings. I think that's still down the road a ways, 5 innings. I'm just glad to hear that he is this far along in spring training. I am glad to hear that you said he'd throw 20 pitches to batters. And I don't think he's going to go out there throwing batting practice type pitches. I think he's going to go out there and try and put some heat on that ball to do this. So they're not going to strain him, but I don't think he's going to be out there lobbing batting practice pitches. I think it's going to be hopefully close to a major league pitch that he's going to be throwing at batting practice. And if it is, that'll go a long way to letting us know that he's on a good track to get back.
Yeah, and I think, if he does go out there and do that, the biggest thing that I think, the Brewers and that are going to be holding their breath is, like, how is he going to feel the next day?
Yeah, that's a good point.
How is that shoulder holding up, or how is he feeling immediately after that? Because he's been throwing and such, but it's a little bit different when there's a batter in there. Those juices get going there a little bit more.
They really do. And, we all have that mental thought when we're coming back from injury, we're testing it. So when he goes out, he's going to warm up, obviously, before he starts throwing 20 pitches. But when he goes out there and throws 20 pitches, is he going to be able to throw heat? I don't expect him to be throwing 100 miles an hour, but can he throw 92? I don't know. Or is he going to be 88? That's a big difference. So I'm hoping that when he's going to be throwing these 20 pitches, it's not going to be warm-up type pitches. It's going to be the fact that he'll get ready on the sidelines, and then when he gets on the mound, he'll throw some heat. I don't expect him to throw a lot of cutters or curveballs, but I would expect that they would want to see him stretch that arm out with some fastballs.
This goes back a little bit, but when he first got hurt and, he was entering free agency at that point too. And, before he got hurt, I think there was a big thought that we weren't going to see him anymore because he was probably going to get a big contract, elsewhere and such. But we're at that point now. And remember, the Brewers signed him, even though that they knew that he wasn't going to play at all last year. If he gives them something this year that's, close to what he was doing before he got hurt, we may be revisiting that that decision to sign him, even though he wasn't going to play for a year, just to have that control for him for this year.
And I hope that he appreciates that. These guys, and you can't blame them, they're out to make the biggest dollar they can. And Boston, San Diego, LA, New York, they all have more money than the Brewers, obviously, because Adonaggio isn't known as a guy that will spend a lot of money on these big contracts. He has with Kristen Yelich, of course, and over the years. But, Brandon Woodruff is, to a certain point, damaged property. So how far will you go? And I hope Brandon Woodruff would appreciate that the Brewers stuck their neck out and signed him to that contract knowing he wasn't going to play. And will he have a little team allegiance? I think this Brandon Woodruff might be an example of will he have team allegiance or won't? Is it the professional, give me all the money I can get with no allegiance to a team? I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm hoping it will be amicable. And if he is healthy and he can come back and pitch Major League Baseball at the level he was before, close to it, the Brewers are going to have to spend some money to sign him, let's face it. But they're not going to have to break the bank. And I don't think any team would break the bank signing Brandon Woodruff because, like you said, and like we've followed, this has been a long time that he's been going out. I don't know if this is a Dr. Crow will be able to tell this injury in severity is comparable to rotator cuff or Tommy John or things like that. But I think if he can come back, the Brewers deserve credit for helping him come back and really nurturing his recovery.
Yeah, I agree. And, he is 32, going to be 33. So it'll be interesting to see, how does that factor in? I mean, he's not a 22-year-old, coming back from it and such. But
then that's another important point. If he was 22 and he could come back, then a lot of teams would say he's still got a lot of gas in the tank. But at 32, how much gas does he have left in the tank, even if he recovers?
Yeah. Not everybody's maybe like a Verlander and a Scherzer who's still getting $20 million a year, even though I probably wouldn't pay them that much.
I was just going to say the same thing.
40.
And why they're getting that much money, I don't know, because they're not anywhere close to what they were in their prime.
But maybe that tells you these teams just have this money that they can throw out there and do whatever
they're living by their name. They're living on their name now. More power to them. That's what it's all about. It's a business now.
Yeah. Another note from yesterday, DL Hall is going to miss several weeks. He's been shut down. The lefty has a lat strain, and he'll be shut down for about the next 2 weeks before being reevaluated. And that's kind of an unknown right now about his recovery time and his path. So with that, the Brewers ended up signing a veteran to kind of fill in that hole from DL Hall. DL Hall was probably not going to be a starter this year, but they still kind of view him as a starter. But the Brewers bringing in Tyler Alexander to a 1-year deal. He's a 30-year-old control specialist, he's got starting experience, started 52 of his 143 major league appearances between the Tigers and the Rays over the past 6 seasons. And he doesn't walk a lot of guys, only 98 walks in 449 career innings. So, that's the one thing I do actually, okay, they lose a guy. What do? They bring in a veteran to try to help replace that.
How much, and speaking of pitching, how much did Colin Ray get to go with the Cubs? I saw that the other day, and I was surprised to see he left the Brewers.
I think it was, I'd have to double check that. I think it was only like $5 million or something.
I was surprised to see that happen.
Yeah, 1 year, $5 million. So, and I mean, they've got their starting rotation essentially set when you think about it. I mean, Pat Murphy already said who the opening day starter is. It's Freddie Peralta, he said. So he already made that announcement yesterday. Aaron Savali, Nestor Cortez, who came over as part of the Devin Williams trade, and then Tobias Myers, who I think we're kind of, for some fans, like that dude was probably the best pitcher last year, especially down the stretch. I'm excited to see what he's got coming into this year.
What happened, and again, you're on top of this more than I am, obviously. What happened to Wade Miley? He's
with the Reds.
He is with the Reds.
They gave him a minor league deal, which I know some fans were a little upset about the Brewers that they at least didn't give him a minor league deal.
Exactly. I was just going to say the same thing. Why wouldn't the Brewers do that? Because he worked hard for the Brewers.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, he was still there in the. I mean, everybody who watched a game or something saw him sitting right by the dugout and helping out those guys. So, yeah, that was one I think a lot of Brewers fans were a little down on. You couldn't just give him a minor league deal and see what he had left.
Yeah,
at spring training.
I'm disappointed too as a Brewer fan.
So, but looking at spring training, it's hard. It's hard to kind of look at stuff, especially when it's pitchers, right? Because they're working on different things. So it's like, well, if a guy goes in there, he throws an inning but gives up 5 earned runs, how much can we actually take away from that? Because we don't know if he's trying a new form, trying a new grip, trying a new pitch in that. What are some of the things, though, that we should be paying attention to in spring training, do you think?
Oh, I think control.
Yeah.
I mean, you just talked about a guy that doesn't walk a lot of guys. And I don't think we're going to see any of the pitchers that we've got in our rotation working on any new pitches. But I would like to see, don't do a lot of walking and, what's their velocity?
Yeah.
I'm surprised the guy you were talking about came in with a lat strain or whatever. How do you come into camp that way? Or did he do that the first day of throwing? How this is kind of surprising.
Yeah, DL Hall, I don't know, maybe off-season work and such, but who knows? Yeah, and then offensively, I think it's going to be kind of hard to kind of maybe gauge some of the stuff, but maybe it's just like the health-wise. So like when Christian Yelich is back, how does he look at the plates?
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things where we've talked about this before. We talked about it last year. What are they going to do at the corners? They didn't do anything for third base. They said, well, Ortiz played a great third base. No, he didn't. He didn't hit any home runs.
Offensively,
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from Ortiz at all. I'm not degrading the kid at all. I think he played very well for the Brewers. But people say they solved the third base problem. No, they didn't. You got to have a guy that can hit home runs. I mean, Ortiz has got a place on the field, but you got to have somebody that can hit the ball out of the park at the corners.
Yeah, they haven't fully answered that yet. That's the trickle down effect. Is it going to be Terang at short or Ortiz at short? Then it's like, okay, if it's Ortiz at short, then who's third base? I know Adam McCulvey from Brewers.com and his predictions got Terang at short. So if it's Terang at short, Ortiz stays at third, then it's probably Durbin, who came over from the Yankees, is playing second, which is a lot of small ball hitters over there, which puts more pressure on the Reese Hoskins and the Yelich's and even the Cheerios and the Contreras to provide the power in that lineup.
I was going to say, that brings me to a question I was going to ask you is, what is the status of Christian Yelich's health? Is he coming back to spring training healthy, or is he still nursing, I don't know, a calf in the back and whatever else?
So he is further. I know Pat Murphy said that this was last week, that Yelich is further along than Woodruff at that point, but this was from Matt Arnold. I think this was just a couple days ago, or this was actually, this was a quote from Matt Arnold. Yeah, because this was on Brewers.com, which versions of Christian Yelich and Brandon Woodruff. Matt Arnold said about specifically on Yelich, I think there's a chance that he can be involved early in the season for us, but we just want to be super cautious with this. Once we get him on the field, getting live at bats, we'll evaluate him and see how he does. So really an answer without an answer.
Yeah, that's about right.
At that. So,
well, we'll see if he plays in any minor league games or if he's just running on the outfield or doing, running around the outfield wall as they do in spring training.
Yeah.
Guys running all over the field in those games.
But then, it's like maybe he's more DH this year because the outfield situation with Cheerio and Mitchell and Frelick over there. I don't know. That's what I'm kind of curious about.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's a great outfielder and he can run, but so can these other guys, these younger guys. And if it saves his legs, ankles, and his hips and back, because he's valuable to have on the field. I mean, when you get him on base, he can go to first to third about as fast as anybody in the game because he's so smart of the way he runs. So they need him in that lineup. Yep, they need him in that lineup.
And, that the other part is like, I don't want to take Frelick, who's now a Gold Glove winning right fielder, out defensively. Cheerio, I don't want to stunt him and try to move him. I think he's a better left fielder than any. So I'd want him out there. Then it's like the Terang thing. He won a Gold Glove at second, but remember, he also won the Platinum Glove, which is best defender overall in the National League. So on one hand, it's like, do you want to move him when he won that award, or maybe that's why you do move him to short if he's the best defender? I don't know. I really don't know what they do.
Yeah, that's why Murphy gets paid the way he does. But you got Mitchell in the outfield. You got a lot of guys that can play in the outfield and play the outfield well. And so you're not going to miss Yelich so much out there. But I think for overall leadership, and if you can bat him second or third in the order, because he was having a good year last year, and he makes a difference. You got to have somebody in there that's a difference maker. That's the way you get to the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, he was hitting over 300. He was an all-star starter, and there's a what if.
Yeah, exactly.
How he would have finished off the rest of the season. So,
you got to have a little luck keeping these guys healthy. I don't care what sport you're in. I mean, look at the Bucks right now. You got to keep guys healthy so you can keep them playing.
Yeah. What else, Brewers fans, hit us up, 715-830-1912. I know everybody's just kind of getting started off with spring training and such. One third baseman, by the way, if anybody was still hoping that maybe the Brewers could shock the world, Alex Bregman signed with the Red Sox, 3 years, $120 million. So,
I heard they're going to try him at second base. I don't know if he's a second baseman. Third and second base are two completely different positions, that's for sure. But, yeah, I didn't expect Bregman would be coming to Milwaukee. He's looking for too much money. But I don't know. The Brewers have to find something at third base. Ortiz is good with a glove, but just not enough offense there.
Yeah, I think that's when if you look at the lineup right now, it just kind of like, let's say it's your batting lineup right now. Is that the biggest question mark you'd have? Is where's the power?
Yep.
Where's the big hitters in that lineup?
Yeah, because there's plenty of speed there and
Mm-hmm.
smart guys on the base paths.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get them on, and I don't know if you can win enough games getting guys on, hit and run, bunting them over and scoring a single or whatever. But the thing is, you're playing at American Family Field, and what is that field known for? It's a
Home
hitter's
runs, yeah.
ballpark, home runs,
Mm-hmm.
and so get some home run hitters in there and make a difference, because that's it's a lot easier to win with a 3-run home run than it is to keep bunting guys over and hit and run to get 3 runs. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think combination of both, and I think they've got that combination of speed on the base pass, and they can do those sorts of things, but they need a power bat. And, I'm not sure. Well, I know they don't have it right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, would you say the most likely candidates over there is Reese Hoskins? And last year he had, coming off that ACL injury, he only hit 214. He had 26 home runs. I mean, you have to go back to 2018 when he had 34. That was his career high in a season. He did have 31 other time in 2022. But I mean, he's a career 238 hitter, batting average, slugging. He's a career 481. So I mean, him, Yelich, I would say, is still a little bit of an unknown at this point. Contreras, you're not. It's not. Catchers aren't always known for their power, right? I mean, he had 23 home runs and he hit 281 last year, but
Good year,
yeah.
really. I mean, they got their money from him. Their money's
Mm-hmm.
worth out of him.
But you don't necessarily view him as like your main power guy.
No, you don't. But the one thing about him, he plays every day.
Yeah.
I mean, if you let him play, he'll play every day. It doesn't make any difference to him. Night games and then a day game to follow, he'll play. And that's a good thing. But you got to keep him healthy. You can't afford to lose him for 30, 40, 60 days, something like that. You got to
Mm-hmm.
keep him healthy. So, and I don't know what the backup catching situation is now, because
Haas yet, so
we've lost some of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then is it Cheerio, who some were wondering, can he get 30-30 this year, 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases? But again, remember, he's 22 years old.
Yeah.
So
and you gotta have some help in the lineup. If you don't have any power in that lineup, they're going to pitch to everybody.
mm-hmm.
And you're going to see every pitch they've got. It's not like they're going to, some guys, they won't throw the curveball because they know he'll hit it out of the park. But I just think I'll use the word desperate. I think they're desperate for a big bat in that lineup.
And I don't know where it would come from at this point.
I don't either.
That's, and like, free agent market is pretty bare.
Yeah,
So
it is. And a lot of these guys that you lust after, so to speak, they don't want to come to Milwaukee. They've got no trade contracts, and Milwaukee is not their favorite destination.
mm-hmm.
That's just the way of the world.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, I don't know anybody who would be trading a big bat when spring training's
that's true.
Underway.
That's true.
So, all right, we got to take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour. We still got some hoops to talk about as well. Now that we are officially in the All-Star break for the Bucks and that, but the Bucks did pick up a win with no Giannis or Dame last night, just across the border against the T-Wolves. We'll hit that up coming up after these quick words. About 12 minutes to the top of the hour. Bucks last night with no Giannis, no Dame before the All-Star break. Heading over to Minnesota, not too far from us, to take on the T-Wolves, and somehow they picked up a win. I didn't think they were going to pick up a win without those two, but Kyle Kuzma, newcomer, helping lead the way with a double-double, 19 points, 13 rebounds. Actually played 39 minutes. And I'm not trying to pick on him, but we know Chris Middleton would not have played 39 minutes.
No.
Gary Trent Jr. led the way, though, with 21 points coming off the bench for the Bucks. So the Bucks now 29 and 24, still that 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. But I think this time right now, this All-Star break's probably coming at a good time for this team, especially with Giannis and some of these other nagging stuff.
Well,
but
Dame has supposedly got something wrong with him too,
Yeah.
a little nagging injury of some kind.
So I don't know if he's going to play in the All-Star game. Giannis is not playing in the All-Star game. I don't know. I know Dame's in the 3-point competition coming up here too. So we'll see with that. But I still don't know what to make of this Bucks team.
I don't
right
either.
now.
You know, you watch them last night beat the Wolves. Wolves are a nice team, and you watch them play without their 2 leaders, the Bucks, and they get a good representation. I keep thinking that the Bucks, can they learn from the Celtics? Because the Celtics, you got Tatum and you got Brown, but they've got so many other guys that contribute on a regular basis. Pritchard, he gets in there and contributes, and
Derek White.
Derek White, but when Giannis and Dame are there,
Hauser too.
yeah, oh yeah. But when Dame and Giannis dominate the ball, the rest of these guys, it's hard for them to get in the flow. Like the Celtics will have a flow, and these guys are always ready to contribute. And the Bucks aren't, and I don't know what the formula is for that, and I don't know if obviously Doc doesn't either at this point in time. But I'm just waiting for the Bucks to get more people involved, because Giannis and Dame dominate the ball when they're in there. No, I don't blame them. They're the best 2 players on the team. I'm not saying anything against that. But somehow to get the rest of these guys like Kuzma, Gary Trent Jr., even Brook Lopez and some of the other ones involved and be more a part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the secret. And of course, they got to play defense. That's one thing that we know they are lacking is solid defense night in and night out. But, I think the talent's there. It's just somehow they got to get the right formula.
And I wonder, I think one person too, maybe just somehow get a little bit more consistency is Bobby Portis. When he came back, he came off hot right away, 23 points, 26 points. But then it's just, 18, which coming off the bench still, but these last 2 games, 7 and 8 points respectively. For your 6th man and a key guy, Bobby Portis, who I think, a lot of Bucks fans would agree is a key figure within this team. But, he can't, like he did with the Warriors, shoot 27% from the field and go 0 from 3.
Yeah, that you can't do.
Or go, just 8 points last night in a game against the Timberwolves. I know he only played 23 minutes, but maybe that's part of it why he only played 23 minutes. He wasn't doing a whole lot, offensively and such. So,
and that's the thing that bothers me when I watch the Bucks is, like last night, a nice team effort without their 2 leaders. But then they play against the Warriors. That was a horrible effort. I mean, what in the world I don't understand how these professionals can't get ready for that game. I mean, that was a horrible effort against the Warriors. It was. No other way to put it. But then they come back against the Timberwolves and play a nice game and win.
Yeah. Or, when they've got their full on Giannis and Dame and they're losing to teams like Brooklyn and some of those matchups, it's like, what,
Well, Dame is, he plays that Ole defense, just kind of wave at him. And, they just got to play better defense. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
So they will be back at it a week from today and going up against the Clippers. And you look at their schedule coming up here. I mean, it's not that easy either because, Clippers are going to be a tough test. They're trying to compete for some playoff positioning. But after that game, you've got at Washington, Chris Middleton game right away. Miami still trying to compete for playoff positioning. Houston's going to be a tough one at Houston. Denver, Dallas, Atlanta, Dallas, Orlando, Cleveland, Indiana, Lakers, Indiana, Oklahoma City, Golden State, Lakers, Sacramento, so Phoenix, Denver, New York. I mean, that's a tough schedule coming up here for the Bucks, and I think at bare minimum they've got to try to get that 4 seed to get a home court advantage in that first round.
Oh, there's no question about it. They've got to get up to 4 seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous right now.
And you have to be, because they're so up and down. Like you said, the horrible effort against the Warriors. And then without Dame and Giannis, they beat the Timberwolves. And Anthony Edwards was playing. This is really a Jekyll and Hyde team.
Which I asked this yesterday, but are you more confident in the Bucks winning a playoff series, first round, or the Brewers going back to the postseason?
Brewers going back to the postseason. Like I said, the Bucks, you don't know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And I, right now, have no confidence, betting the ranch that they're going to win a playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have so many clunkers in there. You play a good game and get beat close, by 2 or 3 points in a good game you play. Then they're going to have 2 or 3 clunkers in there because they don't play defense. I've got more confidence in the Brewers than I do the Bucks.
And I think for the Brewers to get in, they're probably going to have to win their division again this year, because you look at the National League. I mean, the West with the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks are going to be up there. Who knows with the Giants? They could be a stickler. The NL East, the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies.
Yeah.
So to get in, you might have to win your division again.
Series. Oh, I believe it. And the Giants are going to be better. Willie Adames is I think he's going to make a big difference for the Giants.
Corbin's with Arizona now, so
there's going to be some competition, and that's why the Brewers have to address some of their challenges, and that offensive big bat is a challenge for this team.
And I think that makes it more maybe frustrating for some Brewers fans, doesn't it? Knowing that, okay, the NL East is tough, the NL West is tough. Our division is there for potentially the taking again. Does that make it more frustrating that they didn't maybe go out there and get another power bat to put in that lineup?
It does to me as a fan of the Brewers. As you look at what happened in the rest of the NL Central, Cubs made some moves, and I think they're considered the favorites to win the division this year. And
Cardinals aren't looking, but they're the Cardinals, so I never want to.
I'm just going to say the same thing. You never count the Cardinals out, not for the team, but for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to make an organizational move or two that does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they can do that this year, I don't know. But the Brewers have maybe the best stable of young position players in baseball, because they've raised these guys through the draft and through their farm system, and they've come up and played wonderfully for the Brewers. Is the pitching staff going to hold, and can we find a bat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Reds with Terry Francona coming in, I would think that would just bare minimum make a difference. A little surprise projections have them at last in the division, even behind the Pirates, but maybe it's the Paul Skeens, momentum there that people are a little bit higher on them. But yeah, I think, when you look at the rest of baseball, I think it's in the National League. Maybe that I would agree with you. It is maybe a little bit more frustrating that they didn't go out there and add some more offensive power, because I do think it's got to come through the division to get back to the postseason.
And you think,
and to compete against those other teams when it comes to the postseason, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. It's been brought up that Adenazio, limited resources. He's in Milwaukee. But does that put more pressure on him? Does he feel pressure to take on some more owners? We mentioned some of these names around here. Craig Culver, he's a fan. He's done very well. He's got money. Bring him in with, inject a few more dollars into the program and make some money available. Can Adenazio hang on as the only owner of the Brewers without some outside money, selling 10%, 20% of the team? I don't know if that's even on the radar for him or the Brewers, or if there are other people that have expressed interest. And I don't want to have people from New York or L.A. or Texas coming in and buying part of the Brewers, because then you got pressure on moving them out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to see, there's money in Wisconsin. There's plenty of guys that have money that I think our fans might be enticed to buy a
Sell some
piece of the
stock.
Brewers.
Sell some stock.
Yeah, you can do that too. It's
Uh,
worked for the Packers.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, nah, yeah, I think Giannis has 1%. I don't even know what that would come out to
I'll tell
when
you,
they
speaking of the Packers, this draft thing is going to inject so much money into Green Bay. I talked to some people over in Green Bay. They have a house about 3 blocks from Lambeau Field,
Mhm.
and they're renting out space for a guy to park his camper in the backyard for 3 days for $4,000
Jesus.
a night.
A night.
Yeah, people are crazy about coming
Oh
in
my
there.
God.
Yeah,
Holy
people are
cow.
absolutely. So if you're planning to find a place in Green
You're
Bay,
too late.
yeah, oh, you're too late or you're too poor.
Yeah.
But for us to drive back and forth is about the only way.
Well, I got
But
my hotel a long
yeah,
time
yeah,
ago.
good for you, because there are some unbelievable numbers that I have heard. Those houses that are along Lombardi
Yeah.
Avenue there, they're renting for unbelievable. You'd think you were going to the Gold Coast for a vacation. I mean, this is going to be an expensive adventure to go to the draft.
So I saw some of the mock-ups a little bit, how it's going to I got the picture up here. I'm looking at it right now. Like, where the public entrances are and such and what's closed down and that's what's giving me anxiety is like how to get there, like driving through and such, because it's already a mess after a game when they close down Lombardi Avenue and you're trying to go the back roads.
But I
This is going
don't
to be
think,
worse.
but eventually Lombardi Avenue opens up on a game day.
Right.
During the
Later.
draft,
Yeah.
it's not going to open up
No.
because that's going to be like a big mall.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you better know your way around Green Bay or know how to operate your GPS on your phone, because it's going to be crazy over there, which
Yeah.
I think is fun to hear and see, because, how many people have Lambeau on a bucket list?
Mhm.
This way they're going to get to go to Lambeau. They'll probably have to put on 50 more tour guides because they'll have tours going every which way of that stadium.
Every 2 minutes,
Yep.
probably.
Oh, yeah. So, but it's going to be fun. But again, get your pocketbook ready if you're going over there.
Mm-hmm. 4,000 a night. Maybe I should sell my hotel room or something. I don't know.
I know you can make money.
Yeah. Second hour kicking off right now, broadcasting from the TDS Sports Talk studios this morning. A big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you are tuning in. We got Receiver Defer coming up at the back end of this hour. Reminder, no outdoor tidbits. Jake's got some work stuff going on this morning, so we'll catch up with Jake hopefully next week. We begin this. Oh, go ahead.
And I heard I was at bowling last night, and with the weather we've had, and speaking of Jake in the outdoors, I heard, so get on the websites, that some of the county snowmobile trails like Chippewa County going to open this morning.
9 a.m.
Yeah,
they open
okay.
up this morning. So, yep, snowmobilers probably taking some vacation day today to hit the trails. So,
But bundle up. It's going to be nippy out there.
Yep, all snowmobile. We actually shared that on our Facebook page yesterday.
Oh,
all snowmobile trails in Chippewa County will open at 9 a.m. Thursday, February 13th.
And with more snow expected tomorrow, I would hope more trails could be opened around the area. It's Wisconsin winter. We need snow. It's just a part of our life and the way we deal with things.
Even for businesses too. So
businesses, agriculture, like I always say, January, February are the best insecticides on the market at this kind of weather. There aren't many mosquitoes and gnats going to bother you on your snowmobiles.
Yep. So, and then, Berkey week's next week too.
Oh, it is already.
Yeah. So that's coming up here too.
There should be snow up there for that.
Yep. Have you been to that?
Years and years ago.
Yeah.
Years and years ago.
And that's something I'd like to check out just to see it.
Back when we were talking the old Telemark Lodge.
So that's, I was just, because they got updates, and I know everybody's kind of pay attention, but yeah, they should, I would think, have lots of snow.
I would think they got plenty of snow up there, and people come from all over the world to do the Berkey. If you're doing it, good luck. Have fun.
This was on the 10th. It says participants should be prepared to see areas of low snow, especially in the last 10K of the race. But remember, they've actually brought in snow and made snow for trails and that too. So,
and it's not going to melt anytime soon with this weather forecast we've got.
Let's do a couple of Throwback Thursday nuggets here. We'll go 1923. The Renaissance, the first African-American pro basketball team, was organized. It was the New York Renaissance, owned by Robert Bob Douglas. They were named after the Renaissance Casino and Ballroom through an agreement with its owner. So that was 1923. This one, though, you got a little bit of a nugget to add to this, because it was not because you were alive, but 1920.
No, I wasn't alive.
The National Negro Baseball League was organized, and I know you've talked about running into. Was it when you were in Kansas City?
Yeah, the Negro Museum, Baseball Museum, Negro Museum is in Kansas City, and it's without the Negro tradition, baseball, it made the game so much better, and has made the game so much better.
Yep. Was established by a coalition of team owners at a meeting in the Kansas City YMCA. Who were some of the players? Because you were at a farm thing. What didn't you run into?
Oh, they were all there.
Were they all there?
That back then it was in Kansas City at the Crown Center. Anybody's been to Crown Center knows where it's at. Well, it was right across the street from where the draft was held. They had the train station, which is right across the kitty corner from the Crown Center. And, they were all there. I mean, I don't care. Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, Henry Aaron, Willie Mays. You think of the great, and even some of the Negro League players, because obviously Kansas City, a hotbed for that. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Was Josh Gibson there? Was he still alive? I think somebody pointed out to me, because this was like 20-some years ago, 25 years ago. But it was amazing for me as a baseball fan. And like I've said many times, baseball is still my favorite sport. And to see these guys, it was just amazing. And they weren't, they didn't have a bunch of guards standing there keeping you away. You didn't go over there. You respected their space. But I was late for my banquet because I was standing there watching. I wasn't alone either. I was watching these guys come up the escalator and go into the big ballroom where they were having their big celebration. And it was a night to remember for me. I'll never forget that.
That's awesome. So, but yeah, 1920, it was 105 years ago.
Yeah.
So Boy. Those are just some of your sports nuggets for this morning on a Throwback Thursday. Getting back to some more baseball talk here. I know, it's kind of like MLB.com and MLB Network's been doing some countdowns and such, and they've gone through their list of the top 100 players because every sport's got to do. I think the NBA hasn't even done it yet. NFL does it every single year and such. But so they asked the question. This was actually on MLB.com. If Ohtani is number one, who's got the next most compelling case right now, 2025, to be the best player in baseball, do you think?
Well, that's a good question. I got to run through all the teams out there to see who it might be.
You want me to give you some of the – so they did some voters over here, and they've got a list of who would be next from MLB.com. So Aaron Judge got 7 first-place votes.
I imagine Lindor is in there.
He's not top 5.
He's not, huh?
No, Bobby Witt Jr. got 5.
Yeah. Well, and he's had one really good year, great year. You got to have more than 1 year for me to be in the top 5. I think he's got the ability to be in the top 5, but based on performance or potential, there's a difference.
Juan Soto finished 3rd. Mookie Betts 4th. Gunnar Henderson.
Who?
Gunnar Henderson, the shortstop for Baltimore.
Okay, I'm not familiar with him at all.
So, and then they asked, who do you see as a sleeper candidate to wind up as the number 1 player when we look back at season's end? This one's kind of interesting.
Well, Shohei Ohtani, if he can come back and pitch.
Well, he's already number 1, so that's why we got to take him away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got to take him away. Ellie De La Cruz got the most votes from the Cincinnati Reds. It was close.
He's a dynamic player, and if he can consistently put it together, he had some spectacular moments, but then he kind of
some
faded
errors
away for
and all
a while.
that.
Yeah, he kind of lost his luster, and then he'd get it back again. So consistency, as Vin Scully used to say, consistency, the art of virtue. And if he can get that, he will be there, no question.
Some other players that were right behind him in the vote, tied was Corbin Carroll, Julio Rodriguez, and Kyle Tucker. Then 3rd was, again, a tie, Ronald Acuna Jr., Jackson Merrill, Paul Skeens, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Mason Wynn, the shortstop for the Cardinals. And then they asked, if we were to limit this question to just pitchers, who would be number 1 right now? Care to take a guess?
Skeens.
It is Paul Skeens. He got 9 first-place votes, and it was Zach Wheeler who got 4, and then Screwball from the Tigers got 1 first-place vote.
I'll tell you who I think, if he can stay healthy, is really going to make a difference. Walker Buehler. When he left the Dodgers, because he you got Freddie Freeman got all the headlines for the World Series, but Walker Buehler, he was the horse on the mound for them, and that last game he came in after pitching the day before or 2 days before on really short rest and pitched a couple innings and just shut him down and won that World Series. And where did he sign? He signed. He went someplace. He left the Dodgers. Why they did not keep Walker Buehler, I don't know.
He's with Boston.
Yeah, he went to Boston. And, he, I think, is a great young pitcher. The kid from the Cubs that's a right-handed pitcher that had some injury problems, and I don't know if he's still with the Cubs or not. And he pitches a lot like Walker Buehler. He reminds me of they're kind of the same type of thing. But he always gave the Brewers trouble. And I can't say his name right now. I don't know if Marty Green is listening. He'd know what his name is, but I think he's a great young pitcher when he can stay healthy. And I don't know if he's still with the Cubs or if he's moved on from the Cubs now. But some of these guys, Walker Buehler, I think, didn't get enough credit for that World Series win by the Dodgers last year.
Somebody had asked who's the highest ranked Brewer on a top 100 list. That is Contreras. He came in at 28. Unless there's somebody that's listening to the top 10 that hasn't been revealed yet, which I don't think there's a Brewer in the top 10. No, I don't think so. Over there. So
I got a question. Where is Ellie De La Cruz going to be playing in 2 or 3 years?
Team-wise?
You think Cincinnati's going to come up with a contract for him? I mean, he's, this guy, you're talking $300-400 million compared to what some of these other guys are getting. I don't think he's in the Shohei Ohtani or that category, Francisco Lindor type thing, but I think he's going to demand a big contract, and I'd be surprised if Cincinnati would come up with that kind of money. Would the Cardinals come up with that kind of money? You know, they're surprising every once in a while when they sign some of these guys. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of a contract he has with Cincinnati, how long they've got him locked up for, but I'd be very surprised if they came up with enough money for his next contract.
According to this, they might actually have control of him for the next few years here, because 2026 is still pre-arbitration. First arbitration is until 2027. So.
Well, it's like the Brewers and Churio. So they're smart to do that because he's going to be a player that can get a lot of money.
Or well, Brewers at least signed Churio to a contract right away, and
exactly.
Ellie De La Cruz is only making $800,000 this year.
Yeah, and that is a bargain when you look at what some of these other guys are making. You know, what's Mike Trout making? You know, you don't even mention him anymore as a top player in baseball, which is too bad. He's a great player with all kinds of talent, but he wanted to stay in L.A. and play with the Angels, kind of hiding behind the curtain, so to speak, rather than playing with a high-profile team. The Angels have proven that they're never going to be a traditional power as far as being in the playoffs and threat to the World Series, but he's elected to stay out there. Even though he's a kid from New Jersey, you think he'd want to play for the Mets or the Yankees, but he stayed in California, and I think that's taking a little luster off the apple for him.
Yeah, I think because there was a lot of thoughts, would he play for the Phillies, because he's a Philly, he grew up a Philly fan, he's a big Eagles fan,
East,
and so, but he's actually at 39 on this ranking, one ahead of Jackson Churio, who came in at number 40 on this list for the top 100.
I'll tell you, he's fallen, hasn't he? But he's been hurt so much.
Yeah.
Trout's fallen. He's been hurt so much that I don't know when's the last time he played 140 games.
I don't know. Willie Adames, by the way, came in at number 41. So
that's interesting.
I'm trying to see. Devin Williams, by the way, looks weird without a beard because now he's with the Yankees. So
no facial hair for the Yankees.
I think he's got a little mustache.
Yeah,
but that's about it. Couldn't recognize him right away. Kind of looked weird. So
be interesting to see what kind of a year he has.
We're going to see him probably the opening weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Because the Yankees. So Devin finished.
Where's Josh Hader now?
He's still with the Astros.
He is still with the Astros. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Just shows you what money can't do.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll have some more coming up here as well, plus receiver defer. If you got any good receiver defer questions, you can send those on over. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We know the Badgers don't play until Saturday when they take on Purdue. They're going to be at Purdue, which, I mean, I know the Badgers have struggled going over there to Mackey Arena and that, but you look at the Big Ten standings right now, it's still, with just a handful of games, half a dozen or so left here. I mean, there's a chance this could be Badgers are still like in this thing because Michigan's at the top right now. Purdue's a half game back, thanks to Michigan just beating Purdue. Michigan State's kind of a little faltering here. They just lost to Indiana for crying out loud the other night, so they're one game back. And Wisconsin's their fourth, 2 games back from the top of the Big Ten Conference right now, and they can improve that if they pick up a win this weekend against Purdue. But when we look at this Badger season, they're 19-5 overall, conference 9-4. Remember, let's just kind of go back to after the season stopped last year. All these guys that were leaving, Chucky Hepburn, AJ Storr, we're like, who the heck is going to be left on this Badger basketball team? And then you look, they're ranked 16th right now in the country. They got John Blackwell and John Tonje, the 2 guards that are just, I think, easily the best players of the team. But, we didn't know who John Tonje was coming in. We saw a little bit from Blackwell last year. And like, okay, that's
but
a guy.
Very little bit from Blackwell. He was so inconsistent last year.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the job that Greg Gard and this team has done, blowing the doors off your expectations this year?
Absolutely. I just wrote down receiver to fur. Greg Gard should be coach of the year in the Big Ten, or at least given high consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, every coach is dealing with players leaving and coming in and trying to find players that can match this and anything for the money you have available. But I think Gard has done as well as anybody in the Big Ten,
mm-hmm.
putting a competitive team on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's done what Luke Fickell has not done.
Mm-hmm.
For the football team. So Greg Gard should get a pat on the back for what he's doing, for the money he has available for transfer. And, the NIL, that's a different animal. But no, I'm more than pleasantly surprised with how this team has performed. And you and I were talking earlier, how good would this team be if Crowell and other big men gave him any kind of consistent performance? Every once in a while, Crowell will have 6, 7, 8, 9 points. But then there'll be other games where he doesn't have any.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't play good defense against the big men. So if you had big men in the middle, this team would really be a serious contender.
Yeah, and I think, 2 moves that Greg Gard has done over the last couple of years, I think it's from what he did on the coaching staff, Kirk Penny, bringing him back to Wisconsin, but he's kind of their let's say, offensive coordinator, to use a football term, because he's bringing in that offense. It's an international style offense, right? Something that he brought over, and credit to Greg Gard because I think he has to realize too, the current scape of college basketball, you got to do whatever it takes to be competitive and to win games. And I think Kirk Penny has been doing a fantastic job with the offense. I mean, we're talking about a top 40 scoring team in the country. When was the last time we said that? They're putting up higher numbers than that Final Four team offensively.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other move was bringing in Lance Randall, who I know he's probably not the biggest name out there, but 3 decades worth, over 400 career wins as a head coach, 250 of them at Division II and Division III, but he's also known for international basketball stuff. So kudos to Greg Gard for exploring other ways to try to remain competitive when you've got the Dukes and all these other teams that can shell out NIL money. Gard's out there going and trying to okay, how can we compete with that? Being adaptable and being creative in these ways.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people didn't think Gard had it in him, so to speak, to be a head coach and to continue to keep this program viable. But he's showing he can, and he is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Randall too. He's the head coach of the Great Britain basketball U20 team. So I mean, and you've seen a couple of these international players already enroll at Wisconsin. So credit to Gard in that.
And you look at the international players when you go to the draft. International players are a big part of the NBA draft because they play like Luka. He was 16 years old playing professional basketball in wherever he's from. And a lot of other ones like that, the Joker and different ones. You go through the NFL or the NBA, and you look at the foreign-born players,
Mhm.
and they're not just playing; they're best players in the league, so to speak. They're in the top tier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know one of them's a freshman from Italy, Riccardo Greppi. He's 6'10". But I mean, he's looking at a little bit of his bio, played for Verona in the Italy Next Gen League, appearing in 8 games, averaging 9 points, 8.6 rebounds and such. So, and I think that's just something that's going to continue. I think this was RJ that mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Joe Krabbenhoft is kind of like viewed as maybe the coach in waiting or such. It might be Kirk Benny at this point if the offense continues to go at the level it's at right now.
Yeah, I don't think Krabbenhoft. I think Krabbenhoft have to go someplace and go to a D2 or D3 school and do some coaching. I don't think he's ready to step in and be a Division I coach.
I don't think Greg Gard's, unless, who knows? I mean, a lot of D1 coaches kind of getting out of the game now because they are tired of the antics of
absolutely.
the transfer league and
I don't think that's going to slow down.
No, if anything, it might get worse.
Yeah,
just it's nuts out there. So, but no, I mean, this Badger basketball team, they're a lot of fun to watch if anybody hasn't watched them. But this is a big time opportunity for them, and I think when you look at their schedule coming up here. Obviously, with Purdue coming up on Saturday, and Purdue's coming off of a loss. Badgers kind of had a bye this week, so it'll be interesting. Does Purdue come in a little bit more motivated? Wisconsin, well rested and such, but after that they've got Illinois, which Illinois had their number over the last few years, and that's going to be at the Kohl Center. Oregon comes over. They were ranked for a while there. They're outside the top 25 rankings right now. Washington then comes over, and then Wisconsin's at Michigan State. And then you only got 2 more games against Minnesota and Penn State. Then you're talking Big Ten tournament. So, this portion of the schedule here for the Badgers, they got a shot to, if they want to get that number 1 spot.
Absolutely. And and impressively, because as you just rattled off the schedule, they got some good teams coming in. And, I don't expect them to sweep them all, but, to play competitively and hopefully win some of those games will go a long way on their resume.
And maybe give us a good litmus test of how good this team actually is going up against that competition.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting this year as far as the seedings are concerned, because there are so many leagues. The Southeast is one, the Big Ten is another one, that is so deep with quality teams this year versus bringing in some of those smaller schools that might go 26-3. Can they compete? So I think it might be the point where there are more big schools in the tournament this year than some of those other outside schools that, they've got a good record, but how good are they? So I think it's going to be interesting to watch the brackets this year.
SEC is going to be interesting here too, because Auburn right now is the number 1 ranked team in the country. Alabama is the number 2 ranked team in the country, same conference.
Tennessee's up there.
Tennessee is up there, and they're 3.5 back in conference standings.
Yeah.
And Tennessee's the 5th ranked team, and then you've got Florida also under. Florida's tied up there with Duke, and Florida's 3rd in the conference, 2 back, and then you got Texas A&M mixed in there. They're just 2 games back of the conference. Forgot Buzz Williams over there. You got all these SEC teams in the top 10 right now. It's just that's
what I say. There's going to be a lot of these power conferences get a lot of teams in the tournament, and the SEC obviously, but I think the Big Ten is another one. And I don't know about the ACC, Duke obviously, and a couple teams over there, Clemson. North Carolina is struggling to stay above water. But I think there are going to be a lot more big schools in the tournament this year than some of the fringe schools, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's where, when we get to that point too, when we talk about conference tournaments, it's going to be interesting to watch some of those, especially like maybe the teams that aren't as deep. Those fringe teams are going to want those favorites to win those conference tournaments so that they don't take away in that large bid.
That's exactly right. That's a good point too. Yeah, the Auburns of the world get upset right away, and, some 7th or 8th seed wins the tournament, conference tournament, they're in, but so are all the teams ahead of them. So it's going to be fun to watch the tournament.
And then you got the Big East. Pitino doing what Pitino does, changes the course of that program.
Yeah, he did.
They're now number 1 in the Big East. They're a top 10 team. They're 9th ranked in the country. Creighton's there. Marquette's. You got UConn. I know has been up and down this year, but I mean, they're defending champs, so never count them out. So even the Big East is kind of interesting to watch with those 4 up there.
Yeah, because Connecticut's had a rocky road. I don't know if they're starting to settle in now, but they've had a rocky season so far. One time, I think they lost 3 or 4 in a row, which was a real surprise. But it's just going to be a fun tournament to watch.
I don't, you look at some of these, and maybe we say this a lot almost every year, but I don't think there's really you're like, okay, I'm taking that team versus the field. Like that just absolute dominant, or even like a handful of teams. I mean, Duke's always kind of been up there, Auburn's up there, but I mean, you can, 10 teams make the case for potentially being a national champion this year, possibly.
Well, I think more than that.
Yeah,
because as always, when you get in the tournament,
a lot's based off matchups, isn't it?
Exactly. So I think this is, you talk about nobody's ever had the bracket right. I don't know how many people have ever had their brackets correct after the first day. I think there've been, very, very few. But I think this is going to be a tournament where anybody says they know who's going to win the national championship is guessing at best.
Yeah. So we're 4 weeks away from Sunday for Selection Sunday.
Getting that close already.
Yeah, because they said, is it 4 weeks? Or is it less than that? I'll have to double check it. I think they said it was 5 weeks on Super Bowl Sunday, but I'd have to double check that. So, but yeah, it's coming up here. So,
and how much pressure is there going to be on coaches that have their team on the fringe of not even getting in the conference tournament? Schools like Minnesota, Northwestern that are at the bottom of the Big Ten, Rutgers, or I don't know who the bottom 4 are, but if you don't even make your conference tournament, that's going to put a lot of pressure on your program. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, program, an iconic program we know is already going to be looking for a coach next year is going to be Indiana.
Yep.
And I know there's some Hoosier fans that are just like trying to do some voodoo and praying to the basketball gods that Brad Stevens wants to get back into coaching and go back to Indiana, and they got that pipe dream.
Why would he want to do that?
Right? Unless he's got a coaching itch, but I mean, it seems like he's got a pretty good job right now running the Celtics.
Why would you want to get back into this where it's completely different than when he was coaching at Butler? You've got the NIL, you've got the transfer portal. He's dealing with it in the NBA. Why would he want to deal with it in college? I would be absolutely shocked if Brad Stevens came back to coach Indiana.
I would be too.
Any college team.
I would be too. Especially when it's like you're gonna have to do a lot to. And I know college. I mean, look at what Pitino's doing for St. John's. A couple of years you could turn it around, but still, he's had. It's not like he hasn't been having success in Boston, right? It's not like Pitino who goes to Boston to coach and then it's just not working out, and then he goes back to college or whatever. The guy's got an office job and he's constructing a team, and he's a defending NBA champion right now.
I can't imagine he's even told anybody that he would like to get back into coaching, even to Indiana. I would be absolutely flabbergasted.
Is Indiana still an attractive job right now? Is it just because it's Indiana?
Well, it's a hotbed of high school basketball, but but then in all you look, and how many top recruits are coming out of Indiana nowadays? You don't hear that. There just aren't that many top players. So Indiana is living on its legend, is what it amounts to right now.
Right.
I don't think Indiana's any better of a job than Wisconsin or Iowa or some of the other ones. They're a program that has had its glory days, and I don't think they're going to have any more glory than Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa going forward.
Yeah, I mean, when they hired Tom Crean, he'd been there after, was it Marquette? Then he goes to Indiana. They started off good, but then after that, and then Archie Miller leaves Dayton to go over there, and that didn't work out. And then, Mike Woodson comes from the NBA and that hasn't been working out. So,
I don't know how much.
And it's hard with college basketball now too, is like to try to figure out these coaches because they're all leaving. They don't want to be in the game anymore.
No, exactly. And I don't know what kind of support at Indiana coaches are getting from the administration. Say, Indiana has a tremendous basketball reputation and tradition. Yeah, but that doesn't win games today. And so I don't know if they're living on that and trying to preach that to recruits. They're getting Indiana kids, but the Indiana kids are good, but they're not the cream of the crop anymore.
I'm going to save it for receiver defer, actually. So remind me to, if I forget, just say Indiana.
All right.
And that'll be my receiver defer. But we'll take a quick break and we'll get to that as we finish up the second hour. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. About 14 minutes to the top of the hour. Let's wrap up the second hour with some receiver defer. I'll start off so I don't forget mine.
Go ahead.
Receive or defer. Indiana or Alabama basketball is more of a prestigious job right now. Or Alabama is more of a basketball school than Indiana right now.
Oh, I'll receive that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Indiana is not, but yeah, that.
Because I know there's some peeps too wondering, could Indiana maybe get is it Nate Oates from Alabama to go over to Indiana and be the head coach? Would you make that jump? I don't know if I'd make that jump.
I don't know if I would either. I don't know.
No. I know Alabama is maybe still in the shadow of football over there and such. It'll always be a football school, but second-ranked team in the country right now.
Well, let's continue with your receiver defer with Indiana.
All right.
Receiver defer. Indiana's football program is now better than the basketball program.
Right now, I'd have to receive it.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, they had a good year.
Yeah. But, you look, Nate Oates, I forgot too, he was the head coach at University of Buffalo. So, I mean, you got Lance was over there for University of Buffalo for football, and now Nate Oates doing some pretty darn good things at Alabama. So, boy. Yeah, that's still, I think it's still weird to say Alabama's a second-ranked basketball team in the country.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but they do.
Because wasn't Avery Johnson the coach before Nate Oates got there? Didn't
Avery? I miss Avery Johnson and his voice.
Right.
It was unbelievable. It's but I don't know where he is now, Avery Johnson, where he ended up. If he's doing any coaching or retired, I don't see him doing any media or anything.
Yeah, he would. Last one was Alabama, 2015 to 19.
Yeah.
So, man. All right, go for it.
Receiver defer. The Packers have the third best coach in the NFC North.
I'll receive that at this point in time.
Yeah, I will too. At this point in time, I think he's.
If you were to power rank him, I think you'd have to put number 3.
Yeah, I just think he's got to step it up a little bit. Also, something I'm sure you've talked about with people and everything. Receiver defer. The Super Bowl should be played on Saturday.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's been beaten to death. We've had texters and all that, and I'm good with it. I don't want the Monday off. I still got to work Monday.
Well, that's what most people do. And there's nothing sacred about Sunday for the NFL. The only
Not
day
anymore.
Only day they didn't play this year was a Tuesday. Otherwise, they played every day of the week.
Yep.
And so why they continue to have this on Sunday, I will never know. But again, the Super Bowl should be on Saturday.
I agree. Yeah, and you're right. They've tried to do it every single day of the week, so Sundays doesn't mean anything anymore.
No, because they played on Wednesday this year. Christmas Day used to be sacred for the NBA, and the NFL stepped in and said, no, we're going to take a chunk of that.
Yep.
And I don't think it made the NBA very happy, but move the Super Bowl to Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is something that I was thinking about as I'm sitting here looking at Bob Uecker doll and everything else. And I don't know if it's a receiver defer, but I think it's something that receiver defer, Wisconsin sports fans are lucky as far as the people we've had call games for us over the years. Bob Uecker, and for the Bucks, Eddie Doucette. I don't know if you were ever old enough to hear Eddie Doucette. Also, and he was kind of national, but we talked about him, Al McGuire, and Badger Sports, Matt LePay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we've got...
I'll throw one more in there.
Okay.
Brian Anderson.
Yeah. And I think we've had some of the, and have still to this day, some of the best announcers that make it fun and, and informational to listen to these guys. The quotes that these guys, you can quote all of Uecker, just a bit outside, and Doucette in the toaster, and Al McGuire. The good thing about freshmen is they become sophomores, and on and on and on. And I'll never forget the Jim Chones quote, and I don't remember, you remember Jim Chones, a kid from Racine St. Catherine that went to Marquette, and he was one of the first guys to come out early. Came out as a junior and got all kinds of criticism because McGuire encouraged him to do it. And McGuire, in his own way, shut the media up with one answer. They said, why did you do that? Why did you inquire him to leave college and not get his college degree? And he said, well, it's like this. He said, I looked at my refrigerator and I looked in his refrigerator and I told him, you got to go take care of your family. and nobody ever questioned him since.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but we've had such colorful, thoughtful people that call the games for us around Wisconsin presently and in the past that we should be thankful, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of other, in Chicago, you've had legendary broadcasters too. But I think, Harry Carey was St. Louis, and then he came to Chicago later in his life. He was boisterous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how creative or clever he was. He sang the seventh inning stretch and take me out to the ballpark. But I think for calling the games and the enjoyment of listening to the game as we're listening to it on the radio or watching it on TV and these guys are calling it, I think as Wisconsin sports fans, we've had it good.
Mm-hmm. I loved so when CC Sabathia was in the Hall of Fame or got inducted to the Hall of Fame this year, and Brian Anderson had a quote who does some of the Brewers games now for TV, and he said every time he sees CC now, he thanks him for his career because he said when he was just doing Brewers games at that time, but when CC came over, Brewers games moved into the A block. And that's how TBS and TNT found Brian Anderson.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Because he was doing CC Sabathia games on TV. Now he does college basketball, NBA, baseball games, across playoff baseball games. And I thought that was a cool nugget. He's like, every time he sees CC, he thanks him for his career because him coming to Milwaukee moved the Brewers to the A block, and that's how national peeps found Brian Anderson.
Now, another guy I just thought of as you talk about that movement, Matt Vasgersian. He's national. He was Brewers, and now he's national on national programs.
Yep.
We've had some awfully good sports broadcasters in Wisconsin that have made watching and listening fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even for a guy like Brian Anderson too, is he probably could just get away with staying at TNT and all that, but he still comes back to do some Brewers games. I don't know, because his dad. Can we claim Kevin Harlan? Because his dad was Bob Harlan, Packers president.
Well, he was,
and he used to do the Packers preseason.
Yeah, you could, I think, too. Yeah.
Kevin Harlan is still, for me, for my money, I love it. You want to talk about entertaining in that when that game's boring and such.
And another guy that I haven't mentioned, Max McGee.
Oh, yeah.
Color with Jim Irwin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Max McGee came up with some of the craziest things, too, during a ball game.
Ray Scott back in the day.
Yeah, Ray Scott. He was, the voice from All of the Sky, like, that big, deep, booming voice. We've had some wonderful, wonderful people to call the games for us.
And probably even missing some.
Oh, I'm sure we are.
Too,
but I think combine them all, and I think we've had better. I know Twin Cities has had some, but I don't think they've had as many as we've had.
No, yeah, because you go down that list, it's pretty remarkable.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
entertaining, enjoyable, funny, thought-provoking. Just come up with some things that just make it a rich opportunity to listen and watch our sports.
Yeah, I think we claim Kevin Hart. I mean, he was born in Milwaukee, so yeah, we're going to claim him. I mean, he's the father-in-law to Sam Decker too. So.
Oh yeah.
Or we claim him as
Wisconsin. All right, we'll claim him, but I think we have to receive that. We are pretty fortunate.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any more over there?
Not right now. That was it.
Oh, okay. I saw the list a little bit. Oh, look at you! That's the one thing you at least come prepared for.
Oh, absolutely.
Receiver defer.
I had a whole bunch when I was in Hawaii. I had a whole bunch of them, and I was writing them down, and I left my paper in Hawaii, and I forgot what I wrote down.
So housekeeping's probably wondering what this is.
Yeah, well,
looking at that list. I didn't have any more besides that one, so that's it. We only got a couple minutes left to the top, anyways. So, but all right. So coming up next hour, we'll get back to some more baseball talk, and basketball now is heading into the All-Star break. Getting excited for the All-Star game this weekend. That new format they're doing.
I think it's kind of a neat format. I think Charles Barkley drafting Allen Iverson.
Oh, that was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I mean, no, I think it's an interesting format. It's too bad Giannis isn't playing. I don't know how it's going to work out in a round robin type of a situation, but I think it's an interesting concept, and I think it's good for them to be creative and come up with some new things, because the other game, East versus West, that was like NFL All-Star Weekend, which is useless as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
And I don't know how much ratings that thing got.
I think they were down, and it's like, yeah, everybody
Nobody
says
cares.
Exactly, and everybody says, "Well, go back to what it was." The thing is, the players don't want to go back to it, so you can't
No.
just go back to
No,
it.
they don't want to put pads on and go out there and do
And not
something.
even the NBA All-Star one, right? I mean,
No.
they don't want to go back to when it was Jordan, and
Who could score the most points? If it's somebody's home, they let that guy score all the points, so he's the most valuable player in his home stadium. And I think this is going to be interesting because, the foreign-born players taking on, the young kids, and I don't remember exactly what the 3 different formats are, but I think it could be fun in a round-robin situation. I think it'll be different. It'll draw some people to watch. I'll watch it just to see what the format is and how it works.
Yeah. So just looking at some of the 3-point contest. You don't even think about slam dunk. I know Andre Jackson Jr. is in it for the Bucks, so maybe, but that doesn't even mean anything
No,
anymore
they
at this
don't.
point. So,
Uh-uh.
but yeah, they got the Kenny's Young Stars versus Chuck's Global Stars, Shaq's OGs versus Candace's Rising Stars, and then the winner of Game 1 versus the winner of Game 2 for Game 3.
Yeah, and that'll be kind of fun. A little different.
Different. So again, I keep saying it's for the kiddos.
Yeah.
It's for the younger fans out there. It's not for us old fans.
I had to laugh. I was watching TNT, and I think it was before the Super Bowl, and they were picking these teams. And you laugh at Charles Barkley just by looking at him. And they were talking about making their picks, and Charles picked. I don't know who he picked, and Shaq says, "How can you pick that? I'll bet you they don't win." And Charles looked at him and said, "Be easy on yourself, big boy. I got be easy. What kind of number are you talking? Just be easy on yourself." I mean, it was hilarious. Charles and his gambling, and Shaq. It was. I think it was the Super Bowl, but it was the other night, and it was funny to watch.
I'm gonna miss it whenever that show ends. I know Charles. I think he was on DP a couple weeks ago, and they're still trying to figure out what he's gonna do. And his big thing is like, I don't want to work more than 1 day a week or 2 days. That's why if he goes to ESPN, they're going to have him do this, all these other, and so that's what he's trying to figure out right
That's
now.
an iconic program, and Ernie Johnson is a
There's another one. He's Milwaukee.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He's a Wisconsin kid, but he's a ringmaster of the best show on TV.
I agree. Yeah, forgot Ernie's Milwaukee too. So look at that.
Yep.
All right, 2 more to go. We got final hour coming up here after these quick news updates. All right, final hour on this Thursday morning. Big thanks for tuning in. Coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk studios. Reminder, no outdoor chat with Jake this morning. So if you have any questions for our DNR warden buddy, hold on to him for next week. But maybe a little bit of a note for the outdoors. I know tomorrow and Saturday, I know the Altoona Fishing Club, but it's the state tournament in lacrosse this weekend. The Altoona Fishing Club High School is participating in it. So ice fishing.
What's that? Ice fishing contest?
Well, it's
Tournament?
it's
Really?
for the state team. Yeah, for a state championship.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's the fishing club. So
good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was such a group.
The Wisconsin Interscholastic Fishing Association. So
I thought we're ranked number 1. I think Florida's ranked number 2.
Right. Yeah, they should come up and try ice fishing once and on our home turf.
There you go. Right? That's right.
So we've got baseball getting set and getting started here soon, and with pitchers and catchers reporting yesterday. And we know next Saturday is the first spring training game. And again, you'll be able to hear that on the radio dials at 105.1 FM and 790 AM. So it'll be good to get some baseball on the radio. It'll be different, obviously, this year a little bit, but
without Bob Uecker down there.
Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, it'll still be good to get baseball back on the radio.
You bet. And make us feel warm anyway.
Right. You've been to spring training before, right?
Yep.
When was the last time? Was it just a couple years ago? Were you down there?
Yeah, it was 2, 3, 4 years ago, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I have not been down that way yet. But I know a lot of people, I mean, I've got friends that make it a yearly trip to go down there for a whole week.
Oh, absolutely. Well, doesn't Justin...
he's not doing it this year.
Well, he's not?
Nope, not this year. He's going to miss out on it. So
yeah,
but
that's too bad.
Yep. But yeah, that's definitely on my list to try to do it once. So, but we'll see. More teams. I know some teams kind of got going a little bit earlier and such here too. So, but every day we're going to have some news updates from Pat Murphy and such. I'm curious to see him coming into his second year.
Yeah,
reigning manager.
I think it's a great story about that suit.
Yeah, that he thought he rented it, but he ended up buying it. So.
I wonder how much it cost him. Did they ever give you a number?
No, but he said there was like 4 payments he had to make on it.
I was going to say, when a guy was making that kind of money has to make payments on his suit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he didn't get it at the local Goodwill store.
No. We were talking yesterday to Blue Gold Athletic Director Jason Verdugo, and that was his baseball coach in college, was Pat Murphy.
Really? He went to Notre Dame?
Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Arizona State. So. But I'm like, pitchers and catchers. I got to ask you about, Pat Murphy. And he talked to me. He's like, he's like, just the type of guy he is. He's like, that's the reason he's in the position he is now as an athletic director at Division III is because of Pat Murphy. And he's like, when he won the award, he texted him, and Murphy's the kind of guy you got to text back right away. And you hear a lot about that with Pat Murphy, just the people person he is. And, always kind of deflects credit, always gives it to the players, just never takes any of the credit out there.
No, he was a very mild-mannered, whatever term you want, manager. I only think once or twice he got excited, so to speak, with a
still looks like a dude I don't want to get into an argument with that.
He looks
with
like
that
he can handle himself, that's for sure. But what a great choice the Brewers made to elevate him when Council decided to leave. And I don't know how much pressure Council's in this year. What do you think? Because that team underperformed under him last year, and they're picked to win the division this year.
That's a good question.
I don't know if he's feeling pressure. I don't know what the Chicago media is talking about. And the Chicago media can be ruthless. The Bears take the brunt of it, but and the White Sox are kind of a non-entity.
Yep.
But the Cubs and the Bears are, and I don't even think the Bulls, now that Jordan's gone and they kind of, sought their median where they are now. I don't think the Cubs are going to escape the media this summer. They're the ones, and if Council doesn't perform, I don't know how long they'll keep him.
That's a good question. How much pressure if they don't make the postseason?
Oh boy.
I know it'd only be his second year. I don't think he'd get fired, but I mean, I got to imagine the sports radio down there would be kind of already pushing that. Is it probably third year? kind of on the hot seat, I would imagine. I mean, you make him the highest paid manager in baseball, and you don't go to the postseason, and especially in a year that you're picked to win the division.
And they had brought in some high dollar players.
Tucker's over there now, Kyle
Yeah.
Tucker. So, especially if it's like the Brewers again that win it for a low budget, youngster team coming over, I think, Brewers fans probably would still feel pretty good about it,
Yeah, and I think back of this whole thing. He was born and raised in Milwaukee. He was not a Brewers fan growing up, a Cubs fan, or what was the?
The thing was that was his dream job was the Cubs, and so I don't know if it was just because it's the iconicness of it, and
I don't know.
growing up as a kid and just seeing the Cubs.
But I would think he's under pressure this year. If they underperform this year, he's going to get. And they traded away, or what's his name?
Bellinger. Cody Bellinger, yeah,
he's gone.
Yep.
So I don't know what they've got as far as Dansby Swanson. He didn't perform very well last year at all. He was hurt. So I don't know how good that team is. It's going to be interesting to see. They're picked to win the division. Why, I don't know, but we'll wait and see.
Is this like kind of a who's under more pressure this season for baseball? The Dodgers for all the talent that they bought and repeating as champs, the Yankees or the Cubs just getting into the postseason?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Cubs are under a lot of pressure. The Yankees are under pressure to advance in the playoffs, and the Dodgers are the defending world champions, and boy, they're not afraid to spend money, so we'll see. They have made some moves in the offseason. They signed this other Japanese pitcher that was the highest demand free agent out there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But I think Counsell is under pressure this year.
Sasaki, when his agent first comes out, says, it might be better for him to go to a smaller market, and everybody thought they had a shot at getting him, and then he goes to the Dodgers.
For big money.
It's like, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's an endless well of money out there.
I love the debate that's going on now amongst all these baseball people, whether the Dodgers are good for baseball and what they're doing is good for, like, Rob Manfred's saying, of course it's good. What do you think Rob Manfred's going to say?
Yeah.
Like, really, I get you have to ask him the question, but I mean, what else is he going to say?
Exactly.
So.
And you can expect it out of New York and Los Angeles. That's where the money is. And you expect them to spend money to be on top. You're not going to have the Los Angeles Dodgers and New York Yankees on the bottom. Mets, I don't know what's been, they're just run so terribly. They did make a run last year and made it, beat the Brewers out of the playoffs. But still in all, I don't think anybody considers them a threat to win the World Series. They're getting better. But still in all, I think the Dodgers are still the favorite in the National League. The Phillies are going to be right there. I think the Mets are going to be better. But it's going to be an interesting run. Like you said earlier, the Brewers got to win the division to make the playoffs.
That's another team, too, that you wonder with the pressure level. You look how well I think the Mets surpassed expectations last year. That was kind of like the reset year, if you will. They shed some of those contracts of Scherzer and such, and they moved out. They make the postseason. They started off really bad, but they make the postseason, make a run in the postseason. Then they sign Juan Soto. So I'm curious now, the New York media, that where's that pressure at for this Mets team this year?
Well, this Mets team's going to be good. I mean, they brought back the polar bear, the guy that beat the Brewers with that home run in the playoffs. And I think the Mets are going to be pretty good. I think they'll give the Phillies all they want.
And you got the Braves just kind of there too, which
they're always there.
Yeah, I think National League's going to be really, Dodgers are going to be, but Diamondbacks and I think Padres can give, they're going to be competitive too. I think the National League's going to be fun to watch this year.
Oh, I think so. I think Colorado's going to be decent. Padres, they've got some Tatis. They've got some awful good players. Machado, if they can turn it around, and I think the Padres could be heard from.
Yeah, and then you look at the American League. I mean, it's the Yankees and the AL East, but Baltimore's right up there with them too. Even without Corbin, there's
Were
some
you
projections.
surprised that they didn't sign Corbin Burns? I was shocked.
Baltimore?
When Baltimore did not re-up Corbin Burns and let him get away to Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Corbin trying to get back to the West Coast a little bit more, or Baltimore just didn't up the ante. Because I think a lot of people thought, okay, new owners are going to spend a little bit more, and how well they got younger guys like a Gunnar Henderson and such, but that was a little surprising.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Corbin Burns get away from Baltimore. When he went out there, I thought, well, they'll take his contract this year and then they'll give him a big contract because he's proven he's a horse. He's going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely excited just for competition wise. I think, take away the Dodgers and such, the rest of there's going to be some good races, I think.
Yeah, it should be. And it'll be interesting, what can Ohtani do this year? 60-60 last year. What can he do this year?
I'm really curious to see, because he did say he's not ready to pitch yet, but said maybe in March he can start to get going. If you add the pitching part of it, how he's going to look this year from the mound. We know the offense, what he can do.
Oh, yeah.
But if he can get back to being a pretty darn good pitcher up there, I'm curious to see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, and the older he gets, the harder it is on his body. And what is he, 28 or something like that now? He's not getting any younger, but they see, and I saw pictures of him, he's already starting to throw. Last year he didn't throw, but he's already throwing now.
Mm-hmm.
How hard he's throwing, if he's in a Brandon Woodruff category.
He's actually, I just see here, expected to throw his first bullpen this weekend already. So there you go.
Yep.
And he will be 31 in July.
Oh, he is that old. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Be 31 up there. So, but no, I always get excited when baseball. Everybody's got optimism when the season starts.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And there always seems to be maybe a team or two that's going to surprise people, right? Cleveland, I think, was that team. Milwaukee was that team last year that kind of surprised a lot of people. Maybe I'm Detroit, the way they finished off last year, can they kind of pick up? And because I think the AL Central might be there. Twins are the easy favorites for a lot of odds on people, but Cleveland's still there.
No, they were a disappointment last year the way they fell off.
Mm-hmm. But I'm curious with the Tigers, can they continue where they left off and be that team? I mean, Skubal and Jack and Flair, or is it Jack Flaherty's back over there too? So they got a couple good starting pitchers to pair up with that team.
Yeah, if Flaherty's got anything left in the tank, he's been around for quite a while. He pitched for the Cardinals for a long time, but if he's got anything left, he was good. He used to give the Brewers trouble.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's definitely some intriguing storylines, I think, for baseball this year. When you look at obviously Sudo with the highest paid player with a new market in New York, and well, he proved that he could play in New York. That that market size doesn't really matter to him.
No, I don't think it would have mattered to him. And even when he was in Washington, he was as a young kid, he was big time player then. He didn't let the media bother him at all.
Mm-mm. Or Padres or the Yankees. I mean, youngsters already been on some big market teams and such. So, but no, it'll be good. Now that football season's over with, NBA, I'm just kind of still. I don't know.
I cannot watch the NBA. I mean, I watch it in little spurts, but the way they play that game now, it's 1-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
It's they only want to shoot 3-pointers. They don't work. They don't have offensive systems that they work. I mean, they do, but they don't. It's hard to watch.
Do you feel bad in essence for Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA? Because I know he's at least tried or has thrown out some different ideas, but I feel like he's stuck because it's just, I don't think you can force anything at this point to change it. Can you?
No, and I think it's not when these guys got to the NBA. It started out when they were like in middle school, high school, these AAU teams. I mean, that's just first guy across half court shoots it, and that's about what it amounts to. Who can, get the ball and either slam dunk or shoot a three. And then that translates into college. And not in college, it's not as bad as the AAU and then to the pros. It's kind of a stop off there, but still in all, these guys are coming in as freshmen and leaving. They're not staying in college because, even though they can make a lot of money in college now to get better to be a pro, but it's basketball is not the same sport it used to be. They still have the 10-foot baskets and the same size ball, but boy, it's changed. And it started these AAU teams. It started.
Well, I'm even seeing it now in second grade basketball because it's a struggle to coach these kids to do layups. They want to do jump shots.
Oh yeah.
They want to shoot from distance because of 2 words, and they say it every time. Steph Curry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the name that comes out of their mouths is Steph Curry.
Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah, they don't work on fundamentals. That's why it's fun to watch. I was over watching the Memorial girls high school basketball team the other night, and it was fun to watch them. Fundamentally, they're pretty darn strong. I expect they might make a run in the tournament.
I've heard that word used a lot about Memorial basketball as fundamental.
Yeah, they're fundamentally strong as far as defense, passing, setting screens, rebounding, and nice team to watch. They were, they played Menominee the other night and full court pressure, and they dominated that game, and I would expect that they're going to make a nice run in the tournament.
Yep. And a reminder, girls seedings come out this weekend. So
I'll imagine Memorial will be a number 1 seed because they've blitzed everybody in the conference pretty much.
Yeah, I know they clinched it, I think earlier in the week already, the Big Rivers Conference too. So, but yeah, I mean, that's why when you talk about athletes or players who kind of change the game and such, Steph Curry changed the game.
Oh, there's no question. For good. I mean, he's just unbelievable the way he's done it.
But I mean, it's, when I was a kid, it was, you're playing in a driveway, you'd yell Jordan or Kobe. Like Kobe's had such an impact too, because even Hudson, when he does it, he yells Kobe. Hudson never watched Kobe play, but he just knows it's Kobe because he hears other people talk. But it's like, yeah, these kids would do layup lines. They'll stop and try to shoot a long distance, and they'll say Steph Curry, or they'll make it, and then they start doing like the three thing, and I'm like, no, we're no. So, but it's for good or for worse, it's transition threes right now.
But you got to admit, like watching Steph Curry he's different than other 3-point shooters. Damian Lillard, I don't care who you pick out, Tatum, Steph Curry is unique in the shooting that he does. And I mean, if you weren't excited watching him in the Olympics, that last game in the Olympics, or what he did, that was spectacular.
I still remember watching Davidson take down Wisconsin in that tournament year because of Steph Curry.
Oh, absolutely.
They couldn't stop him.
No,
from 3.
No,
it was so frustrating.
And he is so unique. The rest of these guys can all shoot 3-pointers, but he shoots 4-pointers is about what it amounts to, and they don't get credit for that. But the game is hard to watch. A pro game is hard to watch.
Yeah. I mean, Caitlin Clark, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shooting it from the logo, outside shooter. But this is the thing that, she does that. But I will say she is one of the best passers in all of basketball,
absolutely.
too. And I think that doesn't get talked about enough.
No, she took that Iowa team, which they were good, but they weren't that good. And she made a big difference. They never got near 2 championship games without her, because she made all those players so much better.
Yep. And I still remember Jim Boeheim, I think, was on Dan Patrick's show, and he talked about, like, there's only a couple times he's actually gotten in a car just to go watch somebody who was talking about Caitlin Clark, and all he talked about was her passing skills.
Yep.
Just how good of a passer she was.
Oh, she was and is a good passer. And I don't know, they've got some girls, how good she is. Some of these girls in the WNBA have free agency into Indiana to play with her. So, she has that effect on the game.
Yep.
Definitely. I mean, Jimmy Butler went to San Francisco, the Warriors, because of Steph Curry. And it showed the first game. He played well, and I think they'll get along fine. But Steph Curry is a unique player.
No question. I mean, one of the best point guards of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
When you do your all-time 5, it's him, Magic, maybe some go Big O, Oscar Rob, but the list is short for those first point guard picks. I mean, heck, I was just for our new Blue Gold podcast that comes out in a little bit. We had 2 basketball players on. I asked them to pick their starting 5. Both their point guards were Steph Curry.
Oh, and rightly so.
At least they still said Jordan's the best of all time. So I'm like, at least the young kids still recognize Jordan's the best of all time.
Yeah, and that's hard with LeBron still playing. But
one of them didn't even have LeBron in his 5.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But Steph Curry he's unique. He's changed the game like Jordan changed the game, like Wilt changed the game. Kareem changed the game.
Magic and Larry coming in together.
They were the iconic guys that changed it. But going forward, I don't know who's going to change the game.
Yeah, who's next?
Yeah, who's next? I mean, it's not Luka. Luka is nothing unique or different about Luka. He shoots a lot of three-pointers. But Steph Curry, those three-pointers he shoots, and from where he shoots them, and the motion he comes off of to shoot them a lot of times. But I've never been stopped to watch a game as I did in the Olympics. The end of that game in the Olympics when he was throwing three-pointers in from every place. And I mean, it was almost like the ball had a magnet to get to the rim. You can't make that shot. Bang, he made every one of them. And, you know, he won that Olympic gold medal. He really did. So, yeah, he's a special guy.
Yep. All right, we got to take a quick break, but we'll have more. Don't forget, you can chime in, hit us up with some text or comment on the video streams. We'll be back after these few words. I might as well ask this too. I just saw Good Morning Football posted up a poll. Where's Aaron Rodgers going to play next year? You want to know where the leading result is right now? So I'll give you the four options that they had on, or that they currently have on here. It's Steelers, Raiders, other team, retirement.
Well, I think wherever he goes, he's not going to be the driver of the car anymore.
He better not hope for that either.
I mean, he's going to, like the Jets said, you told me earlier, the Jets told him that if you're going to stay here, you're coming to mini camp, you're coming to those voluntary workouts and all. You're not going to Egypt or wherever you are. You're coming here. Well, I don't think that's set well with him. But at this point in time, I think Aaron Rodgers is really a non-entity. And I think for his lone legacy, he'd be better off retiring and going off in the sunset.
Yeah, just go off quietly.
Yeah, and just say, it unfortunately didn't work in New York. I got hurt, came back. I mean, he never liked Robert Saleh. That was evident when you saw some of them interact on TV. But
He
I
doesn't
don't
like a
think,
lot of people.
yeah, I don't think. Well, a lot of people don't like him.
Yeah.
But I think his days are behind him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's not going to pull a Brett Favre and all of a sudden show up in the Vikings camp, because I don't think the Vikings want him.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a recruitment crew that's going to try to go after him either.
No,
so.
They'll lay some terms down like Pittsburgh. Play for Mike Tomlin. You're not going to be the boss when you play for him. They're going to say this is how it's going to work. You're going to be here for the mandatory camps and the voluntary workouts, and you're going to be thrown to our wide receivers. So I don't think he's going to play.
And I that's where I want to go, but then part of me is like, okay, is that ego going to come through and he's going to say, I'm going to show everybody I can still do it for one more year. I don't know.
He
but then
tried
it's like,
that was what he did this year with the Jets. That's what he said. I'm coming back. My leg is 100%. I'm good to go. We're going to make it work. Well, he didn't make it work.
And the other thing is too, is like, okay, who's gonna, like, what situation is out there that is like, okay, if I go there, I at least have a shot to get in the post. Everybody talk about Tennessee because he has a house there. Why would Tennessee want that? Two, why would he want to go to Tennessee when they're that awful?
Yeah.
There's nothing to prove there.
No. And I don't think Pittsburgh has been talked about, as you mentioned, but they don't have any wide receivers. Another question, where's Devontae Adams going to end up?
Green Bay, man. Come back home.
I don't think they'll take on that big contract.
He'd have to restructure.
Yeah, he's 32 years old. I don't think he's worth that kind of money. Now, I'd love to see him come back because I still think he's got some gas in the tank. But, that's like buying $6 eggs, is to have Devontae Adams come back to Green Bay with that contract.
That's why I told Veronica I wanted to get a couple chickens, and Hudson saying no. Like, we need a couple chickens in the backyard so we can get some eggs.
I'm surprised, we haven't seen that, getting away from sports here for a minute, but we haven't seen that. Remember the battle and the debate we had in the city council, whether or not people would have chickens in their backyard in Eau Claire, and some cities, they allow that. Yeah, you can have chickens, but no roosters. But there's a reason you need a rooster and a chicken with the chickens. It's like having a bull around some cows. The cows aren't going to do much without a bull around. So, it's a situation that'll be, but I just can't believe eggs. Eggs were the centerpiece of this election. And people are saying now, eggs aren't coming down. Trump said he's going to lower the price of food. Then he said he can't lower the price of food, and on and on. But eggs have become, eggs have become the centerpiece of the conversation like never before.
Kind of like how Rodgers is always the center of conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Getting Rodgers is like buying $6, $7 eggs. And Devontae Adams, I don't know if Devontae Adams, has he been cut by the Jets? Or
not yet, but it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, so I don't know if he'd come back under a restructured contract. Well, receiver defer, Devontae Adams, a Hall of Famer. He's really, since he left Green Bay, his production has gone down. He's not talked about as one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in the NFL anymore.
He quietly had over 1,000 yards last year, and he's had consistent 1,000 yards. I mean, 2019 he had he only played 12 games. He had 997. So if we throw that one in there, 2018, since 2018, he's had over 1,000 yards each year.
Oh, he's productive. I'm not saying that.
I don't think he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Not now.
He's almost got 12,000 career receiving yards. He's over 100 touchdowns. The receiver backlog right now is what's going to hurt him. If you look at numbers, Steve Smith has better numbers, and Steve Smith still isn't in there. So it's the same that, I know Packers fans, there's some Packers fans that believe Donald Driver should be in the Hall of Fame. Donald Driver is not going to be in the Hall of Fame.
No, not at all. No, he's not going to make it.
Hall of Fame of people, yes, he should be, but he's not going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I know that's like, well, now that Sterling's in there, who's the next and all. Sterling's a little bit different because you can make the case Sterling was like the best when he was playing at that position.
And if he'd have stayed healthy, I think his numbers would be right there with Jerry Rice, if not maybe a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a credit to the Hall of Fame. At least they're be more open-minded about players whose careers were cut because of injury.
Yep.
And like we saw, I know Gale Sayers was in a long time ago, but Tony Baselli's in, Terrell Davis got in a few years ago, and Sterling is now too. So, but Donald Driver's not getting into Pro Football Hall of Fame.
No,
I think people gotta let that one go.
I don't even think his name will ever come up to that consideration on Thursday night before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he won't get that far. No. So,
what do you think it would take for restructuring Davante Adams' contract for him to be palatable for the Green Bay Packers to bring him back dollar-wise? Because right now he's about $25-30 million a year.
I saw somebody say that I can't remember who it was, but it was an insider that said he probably could get $20 million a year yet. I hope Green Bay doesn't give him $20 million a year.
No, I wouldn't think so either.
I don't want $20 million. Maybe about 10 million a year for a couple of years. Something around there.
And you think about it, man, that's not much. $10 million is a lot of money. I mean, how much money do these guys need to have to live on? I mean, if he wants to have a shot at the Hall of Fame, if he comes back to Green Bay, I think would be the best place for him to get a shot, because I think they could, Jordan Love, he'd make Jordan Love a lot better quarterback. Because right now the wide receivers we have on the roster, they're not making Jordan Love any better as a quarterback.
And it'd just be nice to have that one guy when it's 3rd and 2 and you got to pick up a first down.
Yeah.
That he's going to stay in bounds on a catch in that. I was just looking it up, kind of curious. Davante is right now 33rd on the all-time receiving yards list. He's actually, if he plays, which he's going to play this year, he's going to pass Michael Irvin on this list. That's the next one up there. And I know some people are going to be like, well, if you pass Michael Irvin, they should. Different times.
Oh, yeah, there's no question it's different times. But of those 30 guys ahead of him, how many are in the Hall of Fame?
Well, Larry will be. He's number 2 on
Who's that?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be in there. T.O.'s in there. Randy. I think Steve Smith's event. That's the thing. Steve Smith is 8th on this list, and he's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
And I don't understand that at all.
I agree. Reggie Wayne is 10th on this list. He's not in. I think he's going to get in eventually. You got Anquan Bolden, who's 14th. I don't think he's going to get in. I could be wrong, but you got guys like Torrey Holt, Julio Jones. Yeah, Davante's, unless he has this like superpower magical 2 years where he has like 1,500 receiving yards each year and really jumps up there. I don't see it.
Yeah, he's got to come back and play someplace. I mean, I think we all knew when he went to Las Vegas to play with Derek Carr. Nobody goes to play with your college roommate or whatever. That was the most lame excuse. But they were willing to give him that kind of money. And I mean, he had to know that he's sacrificing production going to Las Vegas. And so if he wants to get in the Hall of Fame, he's got to come someplace where he can play. And I don't know if there's a better spot for him than Green Bay.
Yeah. I mean, then I think another thing too, you'd ask the question, you think DeAndre Hopkins is a Hall of Famer? Because I don't. And he's 21st on this list. So. But.
Yeah, there's some good receivers on there that aren't in the Hall of Fame, but I think.
And you got to look at the style of football these last few years, right? Yeah. I mean, those yards are going to be way up there.
Yeah, and if he is thinking about the Hall of Fame, he's got to come to a place. He's not going to go to Tennessee. He and Rogers go to Tennessee together. That's not going to happen. But they got some decisions to make, and financially, I think, is their first decision. And after that, their legacy. And is it a Hall of Fame legacy? I don't know what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For what it's worth, Devontae is 10th on the all-time receiving touchdowns list. And everybody but one that's ahead of him on this list is in the Hall of Fame. The one that's not is probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's Mike Evans. And Mike Evans is just 2 more touchdown catches than Devontae. But it's Jerry, Randy, T.O., Carter, Marvin Harrison. Larry's going to get in. Antonio Gates just got in. Tony Gonzalez, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams.
And I think if he really looks at those lists and he goes to the right place, he can move up all these receiving lists for touchdowns, yards, and on and on and on if he goes to the right place.
Mm-hmm. You know who's at number 13? Just skin shows you the dominance. Don Hudson's still there at number 13.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Boy, and what a difference the game was back then to now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Don Hudson's at 13, and the Gronk is 7 back from him at 14.
Boy, that's unbelievable that he can still be in the leaders. And he played in what?
40s, 30s, and 40s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's my guy, 35 to 45.
And there weren't many guys that could throw the ball even. They didn't
that's my argument. Is like everybody says, well, was it a passing league? Exactly. There wasn't hardly any good quarterbacks either to back there. So I know Artie Herbert was there, but still, watch some of the film and how they're throwing those footballs. They're winding up and crow hopping.
Throwing it like a shot put.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if the football was the same.
No, it was bigger. It was bigger, like, round.
More like a beach ball.
Yeah.
So to be that high up the statistics playing in that era is remarkable.
I mean, just some of the active players that are on this list, and they're at the back end of their careers. DeAndre's at 83. Travis Kelce's got 77, and he's talking about retiring. Stephon Diggs is at 70, but he's coming off of ACL. So, I mean, it's like there's like not any young guys that are really close right now. So, all right, we'll take our final break here. We'll start to wrap things up. Not a lot for picks and predicts because we're in the All-Star break. Spring training is going on and that too. So kind of a quiet time, but we'll be back to wrap up things after these quick words. Wrapping up things here on this Thursday morning, we do have some college basketball games. Actually, a long list of games coming at you tonight. We know Badgers, though, aren't playing until Saturday when they go up against Purdue.
Is that home or away?
That is away.
Okay.
That is away at Mackey Arena. So be a tough one there. But we got number 25, Maryland, taking on Nebraska in Nebraska. Nebraska is a 1.5-point favorites. Who are you going to roll with for that?
Maryland.
Game? I'm going to go Maryland, too. By the way, Picks and Predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room, located in Eau Claire, right next to the Banbury Place. There's just, I mean, unless you like some San Francisco at Gonzaga action or Cal Poly at Cal State Fullerton, Northern Colorado at Sacramento State.
Picks and Predicts. Will the Packers make us effort in free agent for Myles Garrett or anybody else in free agency this year?
Well, they'd have to trade for Garrett. So
oh, he's not okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was a free agent.
Nope. But I would probably say no. I'd like to, but I'll say no. So
receiver defer or Picks and Predicts. Will they pick up contract of Quay Walker when it's due?
Yes.
You think they will?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, definitely. They'll pick up his 5th-year option. So we do actually have a few NFL or NBA games. We got, this should be a decent one. Golden State at Houston.
I'd take Golden State. I think they're going to be running hot for a while with Jimmy Butler. I think they're enthusiastic. It's a different style they're playing, and Jimmy Butler is giving it his all right now. I'm taking Golden State.
I'll go Houston since it's in Houston right now. Miami with no Jimmy Butler versus Dallas with no Anthony Davis.
Oh, I'll take Miami.
Yeah, I'm going to take Miami
Adebayo and the Hero, they're playing well.
Oklahoma City at Minnesota tonight, and this one you can watch on the Tube if you wanted to.
I'll take Oklahoma City. Chet Holmgren's coming back to Minnesota, and I think they're just too strong. That's quite a team.
They are. I'm going to go with Oklahoma City too, and I know after that trade went down, Barkley was saying Dallas is now the second best team in the West. The thing is, Anthony Davis got to prove he can stay healthy.
That's what I was going to say. If he's not on the floor, he's no help better. Might as well be you and I under contract. If he's not playing, neither are we.
Because I think it wasn't it Barkley that kind of termed that phrase, sitting in a suit or something like that. What was that phrase? Because kind of making fun of, or not making fun, but guys who are always hurt and are always suited up in a suit, sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's kind of Anthony Davis, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and that's the problem with the NBA too. Is the fact that all these guys are taking rests. How much they're injured, I don't know. You don't play injured, you play hurt. But I don't understand. The NBA never used to do that. Just managed rest or whatever they call it. And I think it's hurt their image. It really has. I mean, I'm not going to pay $100-$200 for a ticket to go watch the Lakers play, and then LeBron sits.
Right.
That's not what I paid my money for.
Right. I mean, it's like, could have taken Hudson over to see the Bucks and Teals game, but Giannis didn't play.
Yeah.
So, and that would have been a big reason. He's a big Anthony Edwards fan too, but to see that would have that's the problem here a little bit is.
And I got to give Anthony Edwards credit. He's always playing. He doesn't take time off.
Right.
Randall, who they got from the Knicks for Karl Anthony Towns, he's hurt. He's not playing now.
Well, look at Joel Embiid.
Oh, boy. Yeah. But I mean, Anthony Edwards is the real deal.
No, if there was a guy that kind of reminds me of a little old school type player, it's Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, it is. He plays hard and he plays all the time.
17 games Joel Embiid has played this year. That's it. 17 games.
Yeah. He's starting to hear it the other night in Philadelphia. They had a home game. And I don't know, he rolled his ankle or something. He came out. The crowd started booing him. He only takes so much. When those guys are making so much money, you pay your money to go watch him play. It's not right, and it's eroding the quality of the game. I think it's eroding the fan base.
Well, and I don't know who said this comparison, but it was before the Super Bowl started, and it was after that. I think it was after the NFC Championship game. Like there was a couple of Eagles linemen that were really banged up. Like one guy's back was really, and another guy was. I can't remember the injuries, but somebody made the comparisons. Like you've got two offensive linemen that are going out there with these major injuries, and they're playing offensive line and having to take, a pass rush from a 300-pound guy coming at you. And then you got Paul George who won't play because of a finger injury.
Oh yeah, there's no question the NBA is frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating that these guys won't play. And management, I don't know if their union protects them against that. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's not the NBA that we used to see. I mean, these Kareem and Bill Russell and they played Larry Bird, Magic. They played all the time.
Heck, Jordan played every game his last year with the Wizards, I think.
Yeah.
It was 82 games. And I think, wasn't it from The Last Dance? Somebody had said, he had the mindset that night could be the only time some kid sees him in person.
But these guys nowadays don't care.
Nope.
They don't care.
Nope.
Paul George is a notorious one for that, for not playing with minor injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Not even injuries, minor, whatever they want to call them.
Yeah. I wish I remember who said that, but I'm like, yeah, you're right. You got these offensive linemen out there that are just, and I know offensive linemen are a different kind too.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, certain things and in injuries, and then not only just playing, but they play that position where somebody's hitting them every single time.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I'd like to see those guys get dressed with all the pads they put on and the tape they put on, and they're like gladiators going out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they
look at their fingers when they're done, right?
Oh,
Larry
Lord.
McCarron and all.
Well, we saw it firsthand when Jerry Kramer was in here with us a couple of times. I mean, my goodness, he couldn't, if he was going to point from here to Chippewa Falls, his finger would be pointing at
90 degrees the other way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just unreal what those guys are going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't even fathom it.
No, they're tough.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that's about it for some games. So picks and predicts again brought to you by the Elbow Room. So as we said, Bucks will be back in action a week from today when they'll take on the Clippers. Then it's all-star break for them. But we've got more. I'm sure there'll be more comments and quotes today coming out later today from pitchers and catchers, spring training for the Brewers as more players start to come in. I know Contreras was already there. He was doing BP in the cages and such. So a lot of it's been pitchers and catchers reporting, but a lot of those guys too are, position players are already there.
So, oh yeah. Well, they got to get down there and get their golf clubs put in the right corner and this, that. I mean, it's work, but still in all, they make the most out of it, whether in Florida or whether they're in Arizona or whatever the case may be. But spring training it's fun to watch. It's relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're more, in a game, they'll never wave at you, but spring training, hey, how you doing? And they'll wave back. Hey, good to see you,
Mm-hmm.
So it's relaxed, and that's the way it is. Spring training is more for these guys to get in baseball shape than it is to play games.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's done right, and unfortunately, you don't have NFL training camps like they used to be, but Major League Baseball spring training is still kind of I don't want to say a vacation, but it's a vacation to go watch them. You can see something and you feel like you're more a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got people sitting in the outfield and all that too.
Yeah, you sit on the hill and have a little picnic at some of those ballparks, and it's fun to go to spring training.
Yep. So, all right, I only got about a minute left here. So,
and I don't know if the Badgers can beat Purdue at Purdue. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a tough one. I hope they can.
Purdue coming off of a loss.
Yeah, and Purdue's got some big men, and Wisconsin does not have the big men. So I'm thinking it's going to be an uphill fight to beat Purdue. If Crowell shows up and can play some defense, maybe make 2, 3, 4 baskets, be a difference maker, then I think they've got a real shot. But if Crowell and the other big guy don't show up and make a difference, get some rebounds, block some shots, little offense, they can win. But without them, the rest of those guys play hard. Tanji and Blackwell and some of the other ones, they play hard. They've had a nice season, but it's going to be tough down at Purdue.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, perfect timing because shot clock will be right there. So DP Danets are up next. Have yourself a good rest of your Thursday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow to wrap up the week. Same time, same place. We'll talk to you then.